Ashe Boru, Ashe Boya Shewoshe, so the demo for the Balefa. Ashe long life and prosperity. This is Awo Oromila Fungando Ifaoma, Babalao Hifar priest. And in today's video, I wanted to briefly explain the concepts of heaven and the afterlife in Ifa. As you know, first and foremost, in the Judaic traditions, the concept of life after death is as follows: is the belief that a person either makes it to heaven, either goes to heaven or hell, right? Just two locations. In Ifa tradition is a little bit more complex than that. Basically, after a person passes away, we still have a dialogue with, they serve as a spiritual guides. We have a dialogue with them on a consistent basis. And now where they are is the question, right? So if one wants to understand that, basically one has to understand the concept of Orun. Orun in our culture, one of the meanings represents heaven, basically the spiritual skies or the invisible skies that we cannot perceive with our senses or see, or any technological devices cannot trace it, And basically the first heaven was in our culture. There's about 7 and 9 heavens. The first heaven is known as Orun Rere. Orun Rere basically represents the place of good spirits who have had good merits on the planet Earth, and they conduct themselves well and serve humanity. But they're only there for a limited time. They're there for one generation, and after that one generation, they reincarnate through their own family tree. As we say, Baba Tunde, if it's a male, father returns to Yatunde, woman returns and stuff like that. So then the second heaven or the second level is only if that ancestor has been given proper offerings or venerations within our own family tree. In other words, if we remember our deceased family relatives and we do proper offerings by, having an ancestral altar, mention them in our prayers, giving them flowers, fruits, you name it, and elevate them, and they get to go to the second heaven known as Orun Ale Dundun, which is the ancestral plane. They could be there for a longer time, and if they have fulfilled their destiny, dictated by Olodumare, the divine source, and in our culture, if they have fulfilled what their Odu has stated or their initiatic binary pattern, they get to be elevated into another heaven known as Ode Orun. In Ode Orun, symbolically, I like to say, so people don't misinterpret it, within our family, they become like an Orisha, basically. An Orisha is an angelic messenger. They have the faculty to descend and come and advise us, to keep us out of trouble or give us advice. Practically, I don't want to be over people's heads. And then there's another heaven, another higher one known as Ikole Orun. This is where we have, direct communication with Olodumare, the divine source, the Orishas, even highly venerated ancestors, and highly evolved spiritually with good merits. And those are not planning to be there forever if they want to, or decide to reincarnate to help the family to evolve as well spiritually. It's similar to the Buddhist tradition of the Bodhisattva, who evolves and achieves enlightenment, and they're in that nirvana state, nirvana dimensional plane, but they decide to not stay there, just come down and help other people get enlightenment. Same thing in our culture, same concept. But those who do not choose to come back, they get to go to another place called the heaven of retirement. This is basically where the ancestors rest. This is the place where we choose when to come back. We choose our occupation. We choose an entire book of life is written there. Everything we will experience is already known. Even the time we're going to come back to heaven literally is written. We reincarnate, and in the process of forgetfulness and how we forget, that's a whole nother lecture. I don't want to get into that right now because of the video. And then there's another one. It's a higher one. It's called Olu Orun, is the heavens of the Babalaos or High Ifa priests. There's another plane there. But there's also a negative heaven known as Orunapadi, which is our version of hell, basically, where they're there for 68 generations in this negative state until they evolve and elevate to become spirits of light or decide to help people or decide to help the world to be a better place. And so it's not they're not there for all eternity, but they're there for a while, like 8 to 9 generations, until they actually work on themselves. And living descendants could actually help them by giving them offerings and light, just like the Tibetan Buddhism. They do the same thing for those who have are not in heaven. In Tibet, they give their ancestors offerings of incense and flowers and mantras and chants, so that those ancestors that are in hell could elevate and make it to heaven. In conclusion, because I'm being a little quick because of the video. On Earth, there's also different earthbound spirits, and they haven't been able to even make it to Earth. And our culture is very complex. Like, we literally do a lot of ceremonies, funerary rites, a whole year's worth of ceremonies just to make sure the person makes it to heaven or makes it to the right heaven. It's like ancient cultures, ancient civilizations, like in Kemet, ancient Tibet, Babylon. All these ancient civilizations also had the same cadence of making sure the proper rituals are done to assure that the journey of the spiritual journey of this person makes it to heaven. Um, I could cross reference the Book of Coming Forth by Day, wrongly labeled the Book of the Dead, right? Or the Tibetan Book of the Dead. We also have the same concept. So in conclusion, I just wanted to break that down, and also the fact that the term Orun for heaven, right, has a close resemblance to Orion, or the ancient Kemetic people's version of what heaven is like, or where heaven is located. That is why the Great Pyramids of Giza are aligned with Orion, and that's why when people pass away, or the King's Chamber is aligned with Orion's belt, right? Because that's where they go spiritually to their own version of heaven. And in our culture, heaven is also called Orun, Orion. And one of the brothers, he'll, will even expound on that too. So Hashem blessings. I hope this video makes it. It's a little long, but Hashem blessings.